episode 1, season 1. That implies that there's going to be, multiple seasons, multiple episodes.
It should be.
Hopefully so.
Yeah, why not?
We'll see how it goes. This is going to be around people, cars, and roads. So stories related to anything related automotive wise. Maybe things might go off topics depending on who we have. Maybe there might be some guests that tend to go off topic and take us in different directions. And we'll adapt and we'll go with the flow. So we'll see how things go.
They take a Louis when we go straight.
So I have here with me one of the co-hosts. We have Gene here. Welcome, Gene.
Thank you, sir.
We have another co-host that I guess we're interviewing co-hosts. We've got postings out on LinkedIn and all over the internet. We're flooded with lots of applications. So hopefully we'll have a third person join. It's always interesting to have some more dynamics. Mm-hmm. So, Gene, tell me.
Why don't you tell them who you are?
Oh, I'm Dan. I'm Dan. So you have
Dan the man.
You have Dean and Jan. You have Dan and Gene with you today to talk about stuff. So, Gene, let's start off with finding out what have you done in the past couple of weeks as it relates to automotive? Anything?
So I have not done anything with my car other than consider that I do need to buy tires for the future track days that I'm going to do. Thus, I also need brakes. But I have spent quite a bit of time in the simulator, though. I've been practicing. I say practicing as if that's going to equate to some real drive. I'm not driving Monza anytime soon or Spa. And I'm certainly not driving in a Cadillac GTP car. But I have been driving in a few different cars lately. So we did some practice with the V Club guys. Mike and I and Ryan, we grabbed some Mazdas and we went on.
What kind of Mazda?
The Mazda Cup.
Oh,
Mazda
okay,
Cup
Cup
5s, I think is what it was. And we went on, I can't remember the name of the track. It wasn't Brands Hatch, but one like that. And Mike said, "Hey, I got a time that I just beat, and I won his race. He won a race." So Ryan and I said, "Oh, let's go see if we can beat that time." So we all got into a practice session, and we all beat that time. So, and then Ryan crushed it. Like I got to 126 and change, and Ryan got to 124. Or no, 123, excuse me. So it was just fun, though. It's just fun talking to each other on Discord while we're doing the iRacing. It's definitely can build the skills up, but again, I'm waiting on the call from Cadillac. I don't know if I'm ever going to get it.
Yeah, it might be a long time coming. I don't know if Brandon's ever going to give you a call.
Yeah,
Probably not.
Oh, probably not. Yeah. What about you?
So, well, wait. I want to explore this
Okay.
iRacing thing.
All
So, I'm not into iRacing. I don't have a sim. I'm not, yet. I have this room sitting over on my left that would be perfect for it. I'm definitely interested in getting it. I've actually spent a lot of time already researching it, but haven't pulled the trigger yet. But how long have you been in iRacing?
So I started iRacing 3 years ago, and it was our buddy Todd. He's the owner of Flying Husky Racing. He started a league, and I started doing iRacing in his league, and we would go up to Redmond once a week, Tuesday nights at I think 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, something like that. And John and I and Hans and some others would go up there, and this is right when he started his Gripworks Racing business, which is the simulator business that he owns. And he started off with 4 Sims. So we'd go out there, we'd rent the Sims for the night, and he was he was a sponsor of our club, or at least a partner in the club, and we would race. And I enjoyed that. And it's not terribly expensive. I think it was $40 a night, something like that, maybe 50 max, something. It wasn't bad. But for me, it was more of a pain because of having to drive out there to Redmond just to go for a couple hours of racing and then coming back. But I loved it so much. My son had finally moved out of the house. We helped him with that, and we decided the bonus room needed to be something cool. And my wife, she said, "Well, I will agree to an expenditure of X dollars." as long as those I get a reciprocal amount of X dollars that are equal to or greater than. So 'cause she wanted some new treadmill. So yes, ma'am, that was the deal. So I bought my own rig, built it in the bonus room with my son, and I've been racing it ever since. And I don't race like other groups. That's not what I do it for. So my I rating is low because I only typically race with my friends or other groups that I know, but I don't race like um, uh, random. I don't even know what to call them, teams or leagues rather. I only race leagues that I'm friends with.
So you just go out mainly to practice or drive with other
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
So did you
And it's fun
build?
to drive. It's fun to drive cars in places like the Nurburgring. Like I've run that thing so many times now with different cars, and I have a pretty fast time. 6:58 is my fastest. That's pretty quick. Now, could I do it in a real car? No, absolutely not. But it is fun to do it, and at least if I go to Nurburgring, I know exactly where the tougher parts of the track are going to be. I will
So
go one day.
you said you built it on your own? So you bought all separate
All
components?
the components, yeah.
So how did you decide which components you should buy to put together?
So I called my buddy Calvin, who's the owner of Group Birch Racing. I'm like, what should I buy? Excuse me. And his mindset was, as a friend, he shared with me that I should probably buy the higher end of the Fanatec stuff versus
Yeah.
the Simucube and the other stuff that he uses and the Husqvarna stuff. As a business owner, he said, however, if you want to buy the good stuff, let me know and I can hook you up. So I bought a couple things from him, but for the most part, he gave me some good advice on what I should buy. And the rig wasn't, it wasn't, you know, by sim standards, it's a good rig. It's about 6 grand. But he builds them that are 60,000, full motion, everything else, which I don't have that. So for me, it was perfect for my needs and how often I would use it.
So you've had the same setup for a couple of years?
Yep.
Any plans to upgrade?
No. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know why I said no. Minor upgrades. Like I'm not going to upgrade the frame. I do want to put it's called the butt kicker, and it's exactly what it is. It's a bass transducer that sits underneath the seat itself. It mounts underneath there, and it's connected to an amp, which is connected to the sound card, and it actually shakes and vibrates the seat, so you feel more of what's going on in the car.
Oh,
And then I'm also going to do smaller versions of those that sit in the four corners of the frame, and they end up shaking depending on what's going on. So, like if I run over a rumble strip with my left front tire, the left front of the frame would shake, whereas the back right may not. But if I lose grip, the back right may shake in a manner that is similar to if the back right would shake in a car. So it gives you a lot more of the feel of what it's like to really be in a car. It's never going to replace it, but it's, I don't know. If I was to guess, maybe 50%, 60% closer than what I have today. And it's not needed for how often I drive it. It's just wanted.
of course. That's usually the case, right? It's always what we want.
The sim wasn't needed. It was just wanted. And the perfect timing because we had to fill the room with some stuff. And my wife wanted a treadmill. So I got her
We
a
got to
treadmill.
fill it. We got to fill this room out. Well, in future talks, we're definitely going to get on. We'll discuss about tracks and tracking and different events. But a question: our local track that we drive here. I'm assuming that you've driven that in your sim.
So I have with the Assetto Corsa, not iRacing, but Assetto Corsa.
Okay.
I don't like it because I've driven this track so much. When I try to drive it in Assetto Corsa, I don't think the physics match the reality of the track.
Oh, really?
So there's the disconnect. Certainly, it's an older mod. So somebody had to mod it and build it. It's an older mod. It doesn't even have the newer buildings. Doesn't have the chicane that's built in now. And the way I take turn one, if I took that in the Assetto Corsa the same way, I'll wreck every single time. So it's not the same. Even if I use a similar car, like you can also use the ATS-V, which I used to have one, and that's what I started tracking in. So I should feel very comfortable even in an iRacing or I'm sorry, a sim on the same track in the same car, and it is not even close to the same. It's so dissimilar as if it's a new
Wow.
car. So I don't even do it.
Okay.
And I think it has to do with the physics that's applied. I think I don't actually know.
So in iRacing, I'm gonna know that you're not driving the tracks that you're driving at high speed that you are in the sim, but are those more realistic for people that are like pros that are actually driving? Are they saying that the physics and the simulation of driving iRacing is very close to what it's like driving on the track?
And so I watched some iRacing leagues, like especially the NASCAR ones. You've seen the NASCAR guys do it, and they, they say it's pretty close. It's never going to be exactly the same, but they say it's pretty close. Especially if they do a really good scan of the track, and even so, if there's a bump on turn 4 when you're on the exit of turn 4, they do a good job of capturing that, and that could upset the car if you hit it at the wrong angle, the wrong speed. Um, too much steering angle, too much speed, too much fun, too little
Yep.
braking, and so they say it's pretty good. I don't know because I've not driven Nurburgring personally. I can't tell you, but I can tell you that there's a lot of detail in the good tracks. And again, I use Nurburgring because there's so many bumps that are on odd places of the track. So if I screw up turn 1 on a turn, the next turn generally screwed up too, and that's messy. Sometimes it's got really big bumps. Like, man, why would they put bumps there? Oh, because they scan the track, and that's actually where the bumps are. The car's not supposed to be there because I'm driving it badly, but the bump is there, which I find really interesting.
So you're you're doing iRacing more for entertainment
Yeah.
than for training, learning.
Well, yeah, for entertainment for sure, but it also does help you learn to drive the car better. Like I now I can't like I've learned how to drive in an F3 car in iRacing, and I do two footing, so left, right, left for brake, right for gas, and I now know how to drive. I don't know how to do an iRacing or any sim racing without using 2 feet, but I don't do it in my car. And there's some reasons why the car is not the best scenario for that, just because of the way the manufacturer sets these things up. But when I get in there, it really does help me learn how to use both, so I can trail brake really well, some foot on the brake versus staying on the gas as well, and doing both. So definitely for entertainment, but I do like the fact that I'm able to practice my driving skill, especially if I'm racing against other people. I did a race the other day. Ryan and I and Mike, we decided we're going to go to, it was Monza, which turn 1 on Monza is an absolute brutal, horrific, greater than 90-degree turn this way and then back this way. And oh, it's just horrible. And I was in a Lamborghini Evo, Huracan Evo, and I qualified 4th. I didn't realize he was even in qualifying trim, but I was in qualifying trim, qualified 4th. And hit turn 1. I did what I should have done.
What he didn't say is there's only 3 people there, but
Well, that's fair.
keep going, keep
Yeah,
going.
there's only 3 people. So there was, so I did what I should not have done. I dive bombed turn 1, and that was a mistake on cold tires. But,
Oh.
but the physics were so good that cold tires, it made the car slippery, and we bouncing off of each other. I eventually caught back up because I went down to like 6th or 7th, caught back up, and I finished the race in 4th. So I'm not unhappy with that.
Okay.
But yeah, it was fun.
That's something that hopefully I'll get it. I mean, I've spent way too much time looking at all the videos and researching. There's this guy out of Australia. I think it's Boost Media. I might be wrong. I'd have to go look it up. But this guy's sim rig, I don't know how much it costs. It's probably more than 100,000 easy. It's unbelievable how realistic. He's got 3 huge screens that kind of wrap around, and he's got something over the top that covers up to keep it dark like you would in a car. And he's got motion, everything. The rig is bouncing everywhere. And it visually, I could see how you could get immersed in that environment and think that you're truly, I'm not spending anywhere near that, that amount of money,
No.
but I would like to get into to sim. So maybe something in the future.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to go out with you guys, and it sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, we are actually going to do a sim league for the Cadillac V Club, and I got to get with Calvin. I'm going to ask him to run it because he does it for Avance as well. And for the kickoff, when we finally do a kickoff on that, we'll do a kickoff, and I'll go up to Calvin's place, and he's now got 8 sims, I believe, and they're ridiculous. They're so good. It's so great to see him be successful.
Yeah, that's cool.
To go from, we were there opening night for him, and then we've been there. We've been, I think, good friends and good partners. If we kick it off, I want to go there and do it. And get
That'd be cool. I'd like to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd
That'd be a
definitely
lot of
be down to go up that.
Yeah.
Funny with Calvin, see, this is where we're taking a turn and we're heading off in a different direction. We'll come back around. But Calvin, so I met him up there with you guys at one of the
Pacific
exotics.
Raceway, wasn't it?
What's that?
Was that Pacific Raceways or Exotics?
Well, I first met him at Exotics. I think John might have introduced me to him at
Probably, yeah.
probably. But then I talked to him again at Pacific, and one of my good friends, Min, who I hired him. Okay, unrelated, but it's somewhat related. This goes back 24 years ago now, probably that long. I'm working at the company I'm at now, and I'm on lunch break, and I needed this tells you how old, I needed a VCR.
Oh.
My VCR had broken, and I needed a new VCR. So at my lunch break, I ran down to video only. Okay. Go there, go in. I'm walking through. I just need a cheap VCR. Nothing fancy. I just need something to play tape. I go in and I'm walking through, and this guy says, "Hey, do you need any help?" "Yeah, I'm looking for a VCR." "Okay, we've got a whole stack of VCRs, right?" So I go over there to look at the VCRs. And so I pick out a VCR, and I have my badge on for where I work, had my badge on. And he's like, "Oh, so what do you do?" And I told him, I'm at IT. And so we started talking, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm good at IT. I've been dabbling in it. It's really where I want to go." I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, here's my business card. Send me your info, and then, I don't know, maybe sometime in the future." I hired that guy, and I'll tell you, he is one of the smartest technical people I know.
Yeah.
Brilliant guy. Love the guy to death. I hired him. He worked for me for about 17 years, 15 to 20 years, somewhere in that neighborhood. He worked for me at the U.S. office, and then I moved to the international side. He followed me to the international side, and we traveled around the world together. And some shakeup at work, and so he ended up deciding to leave, and he went to go to Microsoft. And so he worked on the same team as Calvin. And so,
that's so
one day
funny.
I'm talking to Min, and I'm like, I forgot what we're talking about. Something around cars. I was talking about maybe some of the cars that I got, and I just come back from Exotics, and I was talking about Exotics, and I'm like, "Oh man, I went to this place that's got they had all these Sims." And he's like, "Oh man, you know what? I had this buddy at Microsoft that he left Microsoft to go start up this company," and then I'm like, "Oh, cool. So what was it? It's Calvin." So funny
It's
how
a
all
small world, man.
small world, how all that
Such a small
connects. I
world.
know, it's so crazy.
By the way,
Okay.
when you were talking about VCR, I was looking around in here like, any VCRs in here? I don't see any VCRs.
I do have a VCR. I think
I
it's
have one in storage.
It's upstairs. It's not connected, but we have a box of tapes somewhere of like old stuff from when my wife was in the band in college, marching band. So all the shows and stuff. So all that stuff has been recorded. I should just pay to get it converted to
Digitized,
digital.
yeah. I need to do the same.
But I haven't. So we still have a VCR somewhere. But that's funny how that whole Min and Calvin. Okay, so what have I done? Well, as you know, I have a new car, and this car has got a new engine. And you really should just leave new engines alone. I mean, at least while they're under warranty. But I wanted to make it look better, and it's not something that affects the warranty. So I have an LT6, and when I ordered the car, the intake manifolds, which sit up on top, they come in black, stock black. And for 2023 year, for the convertible, you cannot order a different color. For the coupe, you could order them a red color. It's called Edge Red. But for the convertibles, you could not. Now in 2024, they changed it. You can now order them in red. Of course they did.
Of course they did.
So if you want them in red,
They just didn't like you, man. They did it on purpose.
but had I waited for 2024, then I would have paid about 7, 8, 9,000 more because they increased the pricing. So I guess it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
So I decided I want to paint them. Well, the cost for the dealer just to remove the intake is about $700 just to remove it. And then you got to pay to paint it, and then you got to pay to reinstall it.
So is it $700 to reinstall it as well?
No, it's less.
Okay.
But you're still talking, they said on average, you're looking at about a $1,500 bill for all things done, right? You drop your car off, you pick your car up, and it's done. Plan on about $1,500. Man, that's a lot of money just for paint. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really vanity, if I'm being honest. That's all it is. But I want it to look good. When I pop that top and I look down at the engine, I want it to look good.
But anybody who's a car person, car guy, car gal,
Yep.
they understand that.
They understand that.
There's no like, oh, that's so stupid. No,
They get it.
completely get it.
They totally get it.
Or if they don't, then they're not a car guy, car girl.
Probably not, but I think they could appreciate, like, if you look in the back, like, if you don't know anything about Ferrari, I mean, it'd be kind of hard not to, but let's just say you don't know anything, and you look in the back of mid-engine Ferrari, and you see that red paint, man, it's just like, it looks so nice, really pretty.
Yeah.
So it's vanity. I want it to look pretty. So I don't pay $1,500. So I'm like, I can do this. Now, there are no videos at all on YouTube that show how to do this.
No, car's too new for that.
Not at all. So I thought about setting up the video, but I'm not a video. I mean, I can do video, but when you're doing something for YouTube, you have to have multiple cameras. You need to have everything set up, and it takes a lot longer to get done as it is. And I don't know what I'm doing yet. Like, I've never torn this engine before, so I didn't video it, which I kind of bummed that I didn't, because I think it's a missed opportunity to help other people out, which is really what it would benefit for. But I tore into it, so it took me a lot longer than should take any normal mechanic. But I think it took me about probably 4 hours just to take it apart. Way too long. Maybe 5. Maybe it was more than 5 hours. I kind of lost track because I did it over multiple nights. I'd go out, work on it for a while, then I'd come in and I'd go and work on it.
Did you need special tools or anything, or is it pretty much hand tools from the garage?
I think I have a pretty good set of tools. I've got 2 cabinets of tools, so I don't think I needed to buy anything. I think the most complex item that was required was like a star bit. So not like a Torx, it's the star. It's got more points on it.
Yep.
I think that's I did need one thing. I take that back. On one of the vacuum lines, it had this, I'll have to post a picture. You have to have this special tool that wrapped around the line that pressed in, and audio people can't see my hand doing this motion, but it collapses this
He's doing a claw.
this ring. I'm doing a claw. It collapses this ring, so then you can separate the 2 lines together. So I did have to buy that because I did not have. That's not something you normally would run into. So I did buy that. Everything else I had. It took a long time, and so when you pull the back, so you have to pull the back compartment off to get to the air box, because then you got to take the air box, unbolt the air box to then disconnect from the throttle bodies, then to disconnect the intake manifold. So it took a while just to get the whole back part off. So I got that out, pulled the trunk apart, get all that stuff. Now, with the convertible, you can either have the top up or the trunk up. You can't have them both at the same time. Now you can trick the car by using a screwdriver and making the car think that the trunk is locked with the screwdriver in the latch mechanism. So it thinks it's locked, and then you can hold the trunk open, then lift the hatch open, and then you can let the trunk go up. So it makes a V.
Yeah.
So I did that, but it puts, for my comfort, it puts a little too much pressure on the two parts coming together. So I ended up taking the trunk off. So now the trunk lid is off. So I took that off, and then I started dismantling the vehicle. There's 3 or 4 bolts that I almost gave up. I'm not going to lie. I almost said it's not worth the paint. I can do without the paint. And I walked away for the evening. I came back the next day and I got the bolt. I got one bolt.
Well, that's typically how it happens too. When you get a really tough bolt and you're getting frustrated, the frustration sets in. You got to walk away. When you come back, I found so many times I come back an hour or two later or a day later or whatever. First try comes off easy. I'm like, really?
Well, I never had that.
Ridiculous.
But I did, the frustration had gotten out of me. And it's like, okay, this can be done. I just have to figure out how to get it done. So I got through 2 of the bolts pretty easily. I just needed to have. Now, one thing I didn't have is I don't have like 2-foot extenders for your ratchet sockets. So I had to have a bunch of like shorter pieces bolted together.
Yep.
So it's kind of wobbly like but I finally able to get in there and get it off. So I got 2 off. And then I had one with the throttle body. The throttle body, there's 2 throttle bodies, and there's 4 bolts on each throttle body. 7 of them came off pretty easy. There's one in the middle where the 2 throttle bodies come together. There's one, the left one on the far right down the bottom, almost impossible to get to. Like, oh my God. I also had to walk away, come back the next day, try to retackle it. I think when I go to put it in, I'm going to leave the bolt in the throttle body and tape it so it stays put when I try to put it in. Because trying to find it, it's blind. You can't see it. It's somewhere under there, right? You can't. And so I'm like, finally, I'm done with the hard part. So now I'm taking the intake manifold off. There's like a million clips. And I don't know if have you had to take apart, the 2 plastic clips where things go together and they have like a self-locking mechanism.
Yes.
They have them for everything, right?
Yeah.
So they've gotten really sophisticated now. They used to be like you just you press down and you pull them.
Yep.
Now it's like you press a button, you slide back, you twist over, it's really complicated.
It's like mil spec.
Exactly. So I got all of that stuff done. I got everything pulled off, all the lines, I got everything pulled off. And I'm pulling off, there's, I think, 10 or 12 bolts that hold the intake manifold bolted down onto the block. I get off 9 or 11. I have one left. And the last one is this top left, and you cannot get a normal ratchet in there. It's just, there's too many other things in there. And so you need to have stuff at an angle. So my first thought was, let's get a flexible, a bendable extender. Put that in there because they're torqued down pretty decently. When you try to try to loosen it, that flexible shaft just rotates on itself.
Yep.
Doesn't do squat.
Yep. I can see that.
So, this is another time I put all my tools down. I came inside. I didn't futz with it. Came back another day. This is probably another reason why it took me so long, because I got so frustrated. So I got a knuckle where it goes in multiple directions.
Yep.
So I wish I'd have remembered. I'll have to play with it when I go to put it back in. But it had about 5 different configurations of different attachments with the knuckle to get it in there at the right angle to adjust it. Finally got it, and I was yelling. I was screaming at the top of my lungs, so happy. So I now have it off. So now my engine is, the whole top of the engine is apart. All the lines are apart. All the tools are laid out. And it's been painted.
Oh, it has been.
It has been painted. Hopefully I get it sometime this week. I'm looking forward to getting the getting it back.
Are
And,
you really looking forward to putting it back on though?
well, I'm a little worried that can I get it back together this without
Without
any
scratching the
leftover
paint.
parts? Because you never want to have leftover parts, right? That's never a good thing. Like,
No.
if you build a house and you have leftover nails, that's an okay thing. When you're putting together back your car, having leftover parts is not such a great thing.
Yeah, so if you have a hose that doesn't go anywhere, go back to it. You'll
That-
figure it out.
So most of my stuff, I did a pretty good job of trying to label everything, especially when you had weird things that went together. I tried to tape them and number them so hopefully I'll get back. But there was something I think the oil coolant reservoir, which is different on the convertible than the hardtop or than the coupe. I had to drain it out, and so I had to undo something, and I set this bolt over here. I'm like, oh, I need to make sure I put that back and tape it on. I forgot about it, and so like 2 days later, I'm walking by the car and I see this separate bolt, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I already have a bolt that I don't know where it goes to. And I am like, oh crap. I'm walking around the car, I finally remember where it was, and I was able to stick it back and put tape. I definitely do not want to have any parts left over.
No. Wow, man.
So John,
So the past 2 weeks, you've done some stuff.
I've done some stuff.
You've
I've done some stuff. Now John has asked me to do his car. John doesn't know this yet, but I don't think I'm going to do it. There's a reason why people get paid $1,500 to tear it apart, paint it, and put it back together. I don't know if I want to go through that again.
Yeah.
Especially
on someone else's car.
on someone else's car.
That's even worse if something happens.
If I do something to it, there was so that's a really good point. We have a guy in our car group, Richard, the guy with the red. He's got the red CT4, the one.
Oh, the one who had the gray one had the bad paint.
It had the bad paint.
Yeah.
So he came over and I helped him put on
Yeah,
his front
remember that.
splitter. Right, I think he got it from Tap Out. It doesn't perfectly line up. It wasn't a perfect fit. There was some elbow grease trying to maneuver it into position. And at one point I was worried I was going to break the front of the car because I had so much pressure
Really?
on trying to get that splitter, the front splitter on. It just didn't fit perfect. And so I was super stressed about it. We got it in, it looks perfect. It looks great. But yeah, I was really stressed about, man, I don't want to screw this guy's car up.
Yeah.
Trying to help him out. So trying to do John's car with this, like that's a whole nother level.
Well, and front fascia, carbon fiber splitter is a little bit less.
And I was worried about that.
Than motor. That probably takes you. You drop something in. That's a $30,000 motor.
Maybe I'll put
Ish.
the picture of this podcast out of my engine and parts, and you can see what it looks like.
Just tell him to go get some rattle can spray paint, tape it off, do it himself.
He'll probably hire somebody to do it because I bet you John's going to see mine and he's going to want it done,
100%.
and he's going to go have it done.
100%.
Now the only downside with the way I've done it is that I didn't get it painted. So I talked to a lot of people. You can get it painted. There's a lot of heat back there. I mean, it's super hot.
Yep.
But they have high temp paint. I didn't want to go to a body shop. And a lot of I posted a thing on the forum and asking people, and several people also said, don't go to a body shop. Like, they're good at painting cars and fenders and stuff. But when you're talking about an engine that's going to be visible, you want it to hold up. You don't want a problem. So I didn't want to go to a body shop. I couldn't find any high performance shops that did like powder coating or anything. But I did find a company. There's a couple guys that recommended a company out of Auburn that does Cerakoting, and so I'm familiar with Cerakoting with firearms.
Firearms, yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, okay. So I hit these guys up, and they're like, oh yeah, not a problem. So I went in, and they're going to take care of it for me. But the problem is they can't match the paint. So I wanted my color to match my brake calipers. They're not going to match.
Yeah.
But
How far off?
it's it's hard to tell because when you look at the Cerakote, it's in liquid form.
Oh yeah.
So you don't know until it's done and then it's clear coated. You don't really know. But I'm like, okay, most people when you're looking at the engine, you're you're not looking back and because you can't see the brakes and the engine at the same time.
Right.
So no one's really going
Most people aren't going to catch
they're
it.
not they're just going to be like, "Wow, that red really sets the
Yep.
engine off. That looks really good." Worst case is I do buy a new intake manifold and I have it repainted. If I don't really like it and I want to go to that level, I could always do that. I don't think I'm not that level of
I don't think so
vanity.
either. I don't think so either. I don't think you do that. I think you'd be like, all right, moving on. I did what I did.
I did what I did, and my wife thinks I'm crazy for tearing this thing apart, brand new.
Well, you saw my text back to you.
I know.
thought so too. But hey, listen, I live vicariously through you and your wonderful experiences.
I do have another upgrade for it
Uh-oh.
already. I do have another upgrade.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll hold on to that one.
Save that for another episode.
Yeah, I've got another upgrade. I debated long and hard about it, but there's a guy on YouTube that I've watched some of his videos, and you know you don't you hear stuff on YouTube. Is what they say, is it really true, or are they just saying it because they're getting some kind of benefit or kickback from it? You don't know. But a research company, they're pretty legit. So I've got another upgrade that I'm doing to the car that's supposed to help in the mid range, which I personally have noticed on track at about probably like 2,500 to 4,000 RPM. I can definitely feel a little bit of I use the word lag. I don't know if that's the right word, but it feels like there's a lull, right? Just not like punch the whole time. And so this is supposed to address that.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see
Cool.
how that goes.
Look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to track. The season's getting here before we know it.
I know. I'm
got
excited.
I have to show you my calendar. I've got a calendar with everything mapped out from
Does not surprise me at all.
my year is full. My year is full. Okay, so that talks about what we've been doing. Automotive. I've got some stuff I'll talk about next time about automotive related. But now, as we transition to what I want to talk about, maybe as a topic. So I've got a whole bunch of topics. So you guys are going to be super excited. I know you're just sitting at the edge of your seat waiting to hear all the topics that we have. But I think the one I want to start with, not with the cars that we have today, but the cars that started it.
Ooh.
So I'd like to hear about, and let's talk about your first couple. I'm going to talk about a couple for me, but I kind of open the door for you if you want to talk about the first one or the first couple of ones, and let's go from there.
All right. So, the first car that I had, I never actually owned it. It was my Uncle Bob, and well, actually, it would be my great Uncle Bob, and it was a white 1965 Chevy Biscayne, and this thing was rough. There's no doubt about it. It was rough. It had been mowed hard and put away wet. There's no doubt about it.
Where was this located?
So Plant City, Florida.
Okay.
That's where the car was. And I was living in Florida at the time. That's where I'm from. I was from Tampa. So they offered it to me, and I was kind of like, yeah, I don't think so. I'm not feeling this. But my mom said, hey, let's go to the beach. Okay, so we went out to Clearwater Beach. It's myself, my younger brother, and then 3 of my cousins, and a big black lab named Rue. This dog was huge, just a huge dog. And Rue had a gas problem.
Oh my God.
Rue didn't think it was a gas problem, but I promise you, that dog slept in my room and had a gas problem. So we're on the interstate in this car. I don't know if it had a 305 or a 327 or whatever was in it. I don't think it mattered because my mom, that thing was smoking out the rear end, some white smoke. And my mom was on the interstate floor doing like 45. And she's cursing and screaming at the car in front of us kids. And she pulls off to, up on Hillsborough Avenue, she pulls off to a McDonald's, and we're all in this car. Now there's again, the seats were rough. They've been they're cut up and they're just bad.
Bench seat.
Bench seats, yeah, bench seats front, certainly in the back, and we all duck our heads up underneath the seat or the sheets because she put some bed sheets on them. They're all not even like a match set. Like the front was not matched to the back. It was not even a match set. It was just two different sheets.
Hey,
We're
at
all
least it wasn't a fitted seat.
that's fact. That's fact. That's true. We ducked our heads underneath there. We were yelling what we wanted, and we're so embarrassed to be in that car. To this day, I still.
And how old
remember-
were you?
Oh man, I was 15,
Okay.
something like that. Yeah, I was probably 15 and a half, whatever.
I think it's funny thinking of you as a 15-year-old hiding under a sheet.
I know. I was so embarrassed to be in this car, man. But we got to the, though, to be fair, it got us to the beach. It got us home, albeit very embarrassed and smelling like fuel. She eventually gave it to a family member, and they actually got it running but much better, and they drove it for a while before the engine let go. The engine finally, eventually, fully let go. So that car was offered to me, and then the offering of, hey, let's go test it out, let's go to the beach. And I said no. And of course, my mother was pissed. She was just really ticked off at me because, I looked a gift horse in the mouth.
Oh, okay.
And I understand as an adult now, who bought a couple kids, my 3 kids' cars, I get it. But that was the first car. I never drove it, but I rode in it. The first car that I owned, so my grandfather on my dad's side, he gave all 4 grandkids cars. So my brother, I'm the oldest of all the 4 grandkids. I got let me back up. My cousin, who's the female, she's the second oldest. She got a Chevy Beretta.
Oh, Beretta.
It was white with some blue trim with the cloth blue
car.
interior. Oh man, it had the red Chevy symbol on the back of it.
Yep.
Yeah, she got the nicer. And I said, Grandpa, what?
That's a good car.
How the cousin? She got a newer car than we did. He's like, she's a girl, boy. Well, okay,
Can't argue there.
To this day, he still calls me boy. West Virginian. Well, what can you say? My cousin Freddie got like a Delta 88. This huge Delta 88.
Massive.
Massive car. And my brother, he got an International Scout. This orange International Scout with
Oh, man.
rusted holes in it and
Oh,
everything.
rusted.
But yeah. And then I got a 1974, I think it was a DL 170 Volvo station wagon. So blue exterior color. It was my first blue car. The interior color was like 5 different colors of different. So it was like there was some brown, there was some blue, there was some black, there was some purple in there from other cars that had been mismatched, put together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they put this thing together. Didn't have a radio in it, 4-speed, and it had the back hatch never latched. So if I went over a train track, right, the back hatch would come up and then slam down, boom, boom, boom. So here I am, 16 years old, right, learning how to drive a stick shift was my first car, and I didn't have a radio in it, so I bought a stereo, right, cassette player, and that was put in the passenger seat. That's a great car, man. I would skip school and I'd go over to Daytona, not Daytona, Cocoa Beach. We'd go surfing. We sucked, but whatever, we'd still do it. And we'd go to Disney for fun, just for the day and come back.
When it's affordable.
When it's affordable. No, we wouldn't go in. No, we would go in.
Oh.
We would just go ride the trams for the different places. We'd never go in. It was just a way to skip school and go and have some fun.
Oh my gosh.
And then we'd come back.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was. Listen, I kept blowing I think it's called the triodes or triads, whatever it was, maybe it's triodes in the alternators. So I kept blowing alternators. But other than that, the car was a great car, and it saved my life actually. I was driving in my new girlfriend's area, and I was actually leaving to go to Publix to go get the Hot Rod magazine had just come out because it came out on a certain date, and I wanted to go get it. So I went to go get it. I was in an area that looked like a through street. I was in second, got out of first gear, popped it into second, and then at the last second, I saw the stop sign. It was right parallel to my face. And I'm like, oh no. And I T-boned a Mustang. I spun around, and he spun around. I was probably doing 35, maybe 40 or whatever it was. I was booking.
Were you on the brakes? Did you hit the brakes at all?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh,
no brakes. It was full. I was accelerating. And I get out of the car, and because the back hatch never locked, everything that was in the back of the seat just thrown out, right? And I get out and the guy gets out and yells at me, and rightfully so. And then I look over and I see a baby seat in the middle of the road. And so I freak out.
Oh man.
And I'm, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Thank God he was on his way to pick up his child, not coming back. But my car saved my life. The seatbelt never worked, but I always wore the seatbelt. Like I put the seatbelt on and it just laid in my lap. It actually never
There was no
worked.
tension.
No tension. But the one time I needed it to work, it worked. And it snapped me up and kept me from going through the windshield. So, but those cars are really well built. I mean, I T-boned this guy. I hit him so hard, the roof of his Mustang was bent, totaled his car. The two front lights of the car didn't break, but the engine, the engine dropped down the way it's supposed to, and you can see the crumple zone had crumpled. I mean, incredibly well designed car. Like I never talk bad about it. Guy called me like a week later to check up on me, oddly enough, see how I was doing, and then said, "Well, thank you. I got a new Mustang." Glad I could help, I guess. It wasn't my design.
Not how I really wanted to go about
Not
it.
how I want to go about it, but that was my first two cars. Yeah.
Well, the Volvo, they're always about safety. I mean, I never particularly liked the look of a Volvo. Maybe the old Volvo, like, maybe the 60s. But recent, like since the 80s and on, like they're like a box and never really.
I agree. For me, I'm just super happy that I had that particular car at that time.
Yeah, at the time.
It worked.
Did its purpose.
What about you?
Oh man. So my first car, one of the ugliest cars I've ever seen. It's a 1979 Dodge Colt. You have to go look it up.
I know exactly what
It's
you're
a
talking about.
burgundy car with white vinyl interior. Not cloth, not leather,
Burgundy
vinyl.
with white vinyl.
White vinyl. Now, mind you, I grew up down south. I'm in high school in the south. It gets quite warm and sticky down south, right? Like Florida. Being miserable as a high schooler with that car in the summer is just very embarrassing. So I get this car. I think it was. I want to
Did
say
you buy it, or was it
no.
gift?
My dad gave it to
Okay.
me, so he paid. I want to say $700 for this car. Might have been 400. I don't remember, but it's 400 or 700 he paid for this car. And again, I'm very grateful for being a car, given a car. We'll talk about driving lessons at another date, but this was a manual car, 4-speed. Shortly thereafter, I blew the top end, blew apart. The cost to get it repaired was going to be more than the car was worth.
Were you racing?
No. I wasn't even into cars back then.
Okay.
This was
Clearly,
just,
you had a Dodge Colt.
couldn't you tell? So got rid of the car, and then I got another car. And the next car I got was pretty cool little car. It was a 200SX, gray 200SX Nissan.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like well, you have to look it up. Nissan 200SX. It's not like the 280s or the 300s. It's a cheaper version. So I had that one, but I had a problem when I was young with not getting into accidents. I would get into accidents. That was my problem. I could not do it.
Okay.
And so,
Found something you were good at early.
well, I got it out of my system. That's
Okay,
the good
that's
thing.
good.
I got it out of my system. So I crashed that car. No, I never had any major accidents. It was just like rear-ending or pulling out in front of somebody. So I had damage, and my dad kicked me off insurance. So I had that car. I crashed it, got rid of it. So my dad kicked me off insurance, and I had to go get my own. And I'm like, I can't afford to get a nice vehicle because I'm paying for it myself now. So I get my next vehicle was I forgot what year, but it was a white Datsun pickup, Nissan Datsun pickup. 2-door pickup truck, the small trucks, little tiny trucks. But ugly. I mean, just really ugly. But I spent a lot of money on it. I got wheels and tires, white letter raised tires. Back then was the thing.
Oh yeah.
Yep, had to get those white letters nice and
AutoZone
clean.
special.
Yeah. I put some bed rails on it. Back then, you got some chrome bed rails. Yep. Put some tin on the window.
You got to do tent, especially in the South. You got to do tent.
Oh, yeah, you have to do
Yeah,
tin.
it's
So it was a decent truck.
prerequisite.
What?
Prerequisite.
Pre-rec, yeah, you have to. So it was a decent little truck. Guess what?
I'm gonna guess you wrecked it.
I wrecked the
Okay.
truck.
Yeah, I'm paying attention.
Oh, man. I wrecked that truck. So my dad then helps me get another vehicle, a a Plymouth K-car station wagon.
Oh,
White.
So isn't that the car that was in like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off? Right? Wasn't that a K car? Right?
Was
His was a blue one, but I thought he had a station wagon.
I'd have to go look at it again
I think
because I
it's a
can't
K-car,
remember.
though.
I remember that in the movie, but I can't remember if that's the
The
same
principal
car.
is what I'm talking about.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. The principals.
Yeah.
So I don't remember, but this was a white station wagon, blue vinyl interior. Oh, hang
Can't get away
on.
from the vinyl, can you?
Let me go back because you said something about your radio. On my 1979 Dodge Colt with white vinyl interior, it also did not have a radio. So I had a boom box, right? Big boom box.
Rightfully so.
I put it in the back seat, cassette player. You know, I had a lot of good tapes, put that in the player. So that was my radio. But going out on dates in that thing, I'm telling you, that was like not the greatest thing when your date, you pull up in that car. But anyway, so now let's fast forward to the K car. I had that, and I was probably 18 or 19 at this point. So I'd already gone through what, three cars at this point. So then I think this was car 4. And they called it, my friends back then, I was in ROTC. My friends called it the bad stay wag. What they called it? The bad stay wag.
The bad stay wag.
Bad stay wag. And
Okay.
so as the car would get dirty, they would write this in the dirt on my car to never let me forget
Yep.
of what it was, right? Good memories in that car. We took a lot of road trips in that car,
Yep.
piled the friends in, but it was ugly. It was terrible. So something happened to the car. Can you guess?
Let me think. Keen powers of observation say you probably wrecked it.
I wrecked the
Yeah,
car.
you wrecked the car.
Right. That's wreck number 4. I'm getting ready to have on my last vehicle. So I get a new vehicle. So at this point, I buy a brand new vehicle. First brand new vehicle I've ever bought.
How old are you at the time now?
Oh gosh, I had just I graduated high school. I was into college, so I was probably a junior,
Okay.
probably a junior in college.
20-ish.
I graduated when I was 21, so I was
Oh, so
19,
19.
20,
Yeah, okay.
right, somewhere in that age. So I buy this car. I worked at Walmart. I worked at Walmart for 5 years, high school through college.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought this truck, brand new Chevy S10 with a Vortec V6. Man, everything I'd had up before then had been 4-cylinder. I get this Vortec. Oh my gosh. Like, that was a nice engine.
Yeah.
So I want to trick the sucker out. Like back in the 90s at that point,
And the S10 in the 90s, that's the one you tricked out.
one you got to have.
100%.
So I started tricking this truck out. I had nice tires, wheels. You remember the canopies, snug tops?
Yeah.
Had a snug top.
God, I have not heard that name in forever.
Had a snug
Oh
top.
my God.
Had a snug top. And I wanted a pass through from the cab into the snug top. So I took out the rear window
Put in a slider.
and I put no slider. You can buy these boots that connect the interior the
Oh.
two together. It's a
Yeah.
rubber flexible boot. So it's waterproof and it moves with the truck. So put that around. So now I have an opening from the inside of the truck to the back. So then I'm like, well, I got to have the truck looking sweet. So I started decking out the back. So huge sound system, of course. I spent
Naturally.
way too much money on car and
If
sound
you say
system.
fun fur, I'm going to leave.
Say what?
If you say fun fur, I'm going to leave.
Fun fur?
Like the furry carpet and the
Oh,
shag and all that stuff.
Okay, I didn't have shag,
Okay.
but I did trick it out with velour. So
I want to see pictures.
I have pictures.
I want to see.
Can you do you remember what colors were popular in the mini truck scene in the 90s?
Oh, you had all the peaches, and you had all the teals and the seafoam greens and
So
scallops.
I had
scallop paint jobs.
I had teal and pinks and fluorescent greens. So
You just hit me in my high school heart right there, boy.
inside the truck, you'd let up the canopy, drop the tailgate, you look inside it. They call it the Love Shack because the entire truck,
You can't
entire
see me, but
ba-
I'm putting my head down, not even looking at him now. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for him.
the entire back of the truck was diamond tuck velour.
Tell me you didn't have like a mirror in there, like the square mirrors.
There
or-
was no mirrors, but
okay.
it had the sound system.
Okay,
It had
you needed to.
had the place for the TV, VCR TV, sound system, diamond tuck velour, the entire back of the cab.
Wow,
Yep.
wow, that's.
I was
you were
rocking.
mini trucking,
Dude,
Did you do
I'm
anything
tell-
to the motor?
What's that?
Did you do anything to the motor?
No,
You
I mean
did
that
now?
Vortex V6. I mean that was such a good motor back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah,
I didn't need to do anything
Well
to it.
sorted.
But I went to a lot of car shows, a lot of truck shows with that thing.
Did you win anything?
I don't remember winning anything, but I mean everybody loved the back of the truck. I mean,
Did you have the back of the truck on like hydraulics that popped up and angled as well, or?
so that's the next step where I was headed to put hydraulics to have a dancing bed.
Yeah.
Can you guess what happened?
You wrecked it.
Wrecked my truck. I wrecked my truck. So I had five
Note to
wrecks.
self, I'm not riding with you ever again.
But here's the thing: I've never had a wreck since then.
Yeah?
So that was five, and really, as I look back, most of them were I didn't pay attention. I was a stupid kid, right?
Naturally.
Just not aware of my surroundings. Didn't know what was going on. I wasn't a person to speed or anything like that, or drive recklessly. I just wasn't paying attention, or I'd get upset at girls. I had a lot of girl breakups and stuff, and you just as a young adolescent, I just would get frustrated.
Yep. Yep.
So after that, my insurance, it was already expensive. It went through the roof, right? I've had so many accidents. And so I wised up and like, okay, I need to get legit. And so I bought a car.
Wait, it was so bad you couldn't even repair it?
No, they
was
totaled
totaled.
they totaled it.
Did you take out your stereo system and you keep all that stuff? Too? Or did you just
I
let it
took
go?
out the stereo system. So I parked the truck at my dad's place while I was in college, and I was college a state over from where my parents were living. So I parked the truck at my dad's place. He sold the snug top and the whole back, the whole interior. He sold all of it without me knowing about it. So they totaled the truck, and then he took all that stuff out, and then he sold all that. I never saw any of it.
He didn't give you the money?
He didn't give me the money
Because you left it at his house.
because
That's a storage
that's
fee.
just how it is,
It's
right?
a storage fee.
That's just how it is.
Yep.
So I never had any more wrecks after that.
Yeah.
So I learned my lesson. So it's something
Wow.
I'm trying to impart on my kids that you need to be alert because stupid stuff can happen.
Yep.
So that's how that's the beginning of my car's journey.
Wow. That's outstanding. And you just hit me like right in my, you started talking seafoam green and pinks and all this. Man, I have not seen a picture of your S10. I do want to see it. But I've seen it in my head. I've seen it. I've seen it in high school parking lots. I've seen it in car shows back in, the 90s. No, I've seen that vehicle before in my head and in real life. I know those colors. Did you do any scallops or anything on it? Or was it just like one color or is it solid monochrome?
No, it had multiple colors. So I
Okay.
think, so without looking at a picture, I think the button for the diamond tuck, the diamond tuck is there's four things tucking in.
Mm-hmm.
The button, I think, was hot pink. The material that was tucking was fluorescent blue. And then I had this, where it covered the fender wells, where I had the built out. I think that was covered in like ripple fluorescent green, and sides was like pink.
can see it. The
Oh,
ripple.
it-
Oh man, I got it.
Man,
It is right here in my head.
it was a beautiful truck.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
So
gosh.
was the external or the exterior paint the same color as stock, or did you
No,
do-
I put on, so it was a white truck, so I put graphics on it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, put graphics on it.
Dude, I had no idea.
I know, right?
I had no idea. Knowing the ride you have today, I have no idea. I had no idea. This is awesome. I
Yeah.
have a newfound respect for you, brother. That's outstanding.
Oh man. Well, there's a lot more where that came from.
Yep.
So
Oh, for sure.
I guess we'll wrap it up. Good conversation.
Yeah, it was fun,
cool.
man.
I'm looking forward to the next one. So with that, I guess we'll sign off and we'll chat next time.
We're out.